Good morning, David, and thank you for joining us today on Business Spotlight Series.
Morning.
Today we have with us David McKenzie, the founder and managing director of Occutrace. They help utility companies optimize their revenue through the power of accurate data. So, David, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and for how long you've been doing this?
Yeah, absolutely. So Occutrace has been established now 7 years, 7 years last month actually. So yeah, been around for a little while. Our main focus and I suppose the problems that we solve for our clients is looking at their data and actually validating its accuracy, efficacy, making sure everything as it should be is as it should be, and yeah, that's what we've been doing in the last maybe say 7 years or so. Started off in the Scottish water market in my own career. The non-household market in Scotland opened up, must be 15 years ago now. And with any kind of newly deregulated market, there was some problems to be ironed out. After that, I spent maybe 5 years there, and in the English market, there was the talk of the deregulation of the non-household market as well, making competition greater, making more choice for customers. And with that being 10 times the size of the Scottish market and having lived through the problems that manifest themselves in the first few years of that market opening, myself and my colleague Neil decided to take advantage of that and leverage our experience and leverage our, I suppose, CVs and talents, if you want to call it that, to try and help companies down south get up to speed and make sure the data was accurate. Yeah.
I've got a burning question. How do you come up with a name?
Occutrace. Well, it was I'd like to say it was some impressive kind of method of workshopping and focus groups, and it was just something Neil and I came up with. One of the initial products that we were looking at delivering to the market was occupancy tracing. So it was really just a kind of merge of those two words. But it did stand out. There wasn't anything else like it in the market. It was something that was completely new, with it being a new word, as it were. There was no chance of tripping over any kind of IP issues.
Yes.
Or any trademark infringements or anything like that. So yeah, kind of made up as you
yeah. I get a domain name and all the rest of it. Yeah, very good, excellent. So when you were growing up, was this something you always wanted to do?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think when I was growing up, I think I wanted to be a football player, but I think my lack of skill and lack of ability put that to bed quite early on.
Yes.
Early on, and then kind of meandered through a few different businesses and different types of career. Started off in credit management. And worked on some change projects, business analysis, and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until that point, when I was in the water industry and working out with a silo of a specific department, if that makes sense, that it became kind of clear to myself that, you know what, I quite fancy doing this for myself. Kind of found my way in my late 20s, early 30s, and said, well, actually, I think I might try this myself. But it really was because the opportunity presented itself, or it became obvious to me that there was an opportunity, and then that kind of led on from there. But no burning desire from being the womb to being a business owner.
Okay, so that was the other question. So when do you start to think about setting up business for yourself? Was it that time when you were thinking of?
Yeah,
it's not something you had in your mind for some time. I want to run my own business.
Yeah, no, it was whether run my own business or take advantage of an opportunity, or I suppose you could term it in a few different ways. I don't think I had a burning desire to manage people in a business that I run necessarily. But what I do enjoy is I suppose, that kind of creative process of a new product, for instance, and getting it to market quickly after validating it with potential clients. And I think maybe just being maybe impatient and working in a corporate environment made me feel, do you know what, I can just do this. I feel as if this is a no-brainer, and not to kind of cast any kind of negativity on a corporate experience, but things take quite a while to get moving. You need to convince people who perhaps are kind of in transition in their positions and don't want this to work and all that kind of thing. And I thought, you know what, I can do this. I can do this. There's an opportunity here to do something interesting and be my own boss, really. But as I say, that kind of became clear to me as I was turning 30. So we're talking 10 years ago, really. But yeah.
Wonderful. And what's been your biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
Well, I think for me, the biggest learning is that I can't do everything myself. Delegation is key, but delegation with trust is even more key. If you try and do everything on your own, yeah, you're not going to get anywhere fast, and you'll lose a lot of sleep, and you might not necessarily enjoy the journey. But yeah, I would say that's one of the biggest learnings for me, that I'm not perfect. I don't know how to do everything, but I think that the key thing for myself to learn was that kind of introspective of yourself, to say, what are you deficient in, or even less efficient or proficient in? Absolutely. So there's a lot of soul searching and finding out that you can't do that, or is it even worth your time? You know, could that be more valuable elsewhere, to the business or to a client, for instance, than, I don't know, writing copy for a website? Is that my area of expertise? No, it is not. You know, that kind of thing. But knowing that, I think, has been the key thing.
Very good. That's excellent. So what are your aspirations for your company, for the business in the next 5 years?
Well, the next 5 years for me and for the business as well, the aspiration is to break out of the current sector that we're in at the moment, which is quite niche. It's the non-household water sector in Scotland and England. The aspirations is to break out into energy, into other areas, perhaps overseas as well. But obviously these things will take time, but also identifying the opportunities in these other areas as well. That's going to be a key thing as well.
Okay. I mean, many businesses across all industries really are finding difficult to recruit. What are your thoughts on the current employment situation in Glasgow and surroundings?
Well, I suppose we feel the challenges across the UK, actually, because we have colleagues in the field, so up and down the length and breadth of the UK, kind of from Scotland, north of Scotland, down to southeast, southwest England. And we do find that there is a challenge. In the last 18 months, it's become incredibly difficult. We did have a number of EU-based colleagues, not based, but EU colleagues, that we're finding are not coming through on the recruitment adverts now. They're just not coming through. So there's a bit of a reduction in the number of people applying for roles. And yeah, the cost of living is becoming a real challenge for our employees as well. So wages being pushed up, costs of vehicles being pushed up as well.
Yes.
So recruitment has been squeezed, absolutely squeezed. So there's less people to pick from, and therefore it's making it more difficult to actually fill those roles.
What team size do you have at the moment?
See that again?
What was the size of the team? How many people work?
Last count, the end of last month, I think we had 35.
Okay. Very
Yeah,
good.
so it was probably a split of maybe say 50-50 in the Glasgow office, and the other 50% out in the field, in the cars and vans and things. So those are the people that are out in the field doing doing the hard miles, I suppose, reading the
Yeah,
meters,
yeah.
confirming occupancy of buildings and all that kind of good stuff.
And what are the biggest challenges running a business in your industry?
I think for me, the biggest challenge is actually breaking through the kind of the wall that sometimes is up in front of you from a sales perspective. We've got quite a good name in the market for what we do, which is great, but it is still very difficult to maneuver through the procurement processes and the kind of opaque job titles of people sometimes. Yeah, it's difficult to identify exactly who you need to speak to quickly and efficiently. And then navigate through the procurement rules, because some of these companies are absolutely massive. You've got kind of quasi public sector in there as well, and they conform to certain procurement standards, which is fine, which is great. But the buying cycle is quite long as well, so it's just making sure you're in at the right time. That's a big challenge in this industry for us, for someone our size. You've got other companies that have been in the business a lot longer, a lot more capital to kind of throw about on business development and various other things. But yeah, that's a challenge.
Yeah, yeah, and I can see that. So the sales cycle will be what, 6 months, 12 months, and beyond?
Yep, easy,
Yeah,
easy.
yeah.
Absolutely no problem. More than that sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. I can imagine. So what would you say to anyone thinking of going into business for the first time?
Oh, listen, 100%. For me, it's a no-brainer, but there are sacrifices there, of course. It's hard to maintain that work-life balance at the very beginning. But I suppose that's one of the key things that I enjoy about this. But running a business is that I do have a bit more of a work-life balance. I'm always thinking about work. I'm always thinking about the business and what we can do, but I'm not necessarily always in the office. So that flexibility. I mean, example is just now I'm local to my house at the moment, my home, because my kids, my son's out of school now. He's at a local rugby camp, and I'm only 5 minutes from there now because I can choose to work here. I can choose to be here. That's nice. I know the kind of direction of travel for the rest of the world is maybe going to that hybrid working more, but I've certainly personally embraced that quite a bit, and it's very, very useful for me. But the kind of sense of achievement and the getting past those first 2 or 3 years, the sense of achievement's great. To say that you're responsible for starting a business that's now employing 35 people. That's nice. That's nice to make sure that you're paying all those wages and keeping people working and contributing. Definitely, that's nice. But no, I would encourage anyone to start their own business. But also one of the key things for me was actually seeking a wider business network as well, and also help from people that actually have done this before. So don't kind of suffer in silence yourself, and get out there and network and speak to people and build that support network. It's not necessarily just a sales approach, that networking piece. What I found initially was that network helped me with my first IT contract that I needed to sign, or my first mobile phones for the business, my first printing contract that I needed to get, my first office supplies, legal advice, IP. All these things came from kind of local networking events. So I would definitely recommend that. Anybody that's getting into business, do get into local networking, even if you're not selling locally. We're not selling locally in Glasgow and surrounding region, but majority of my suppliers, so HR, health and safety, all these people were all people within my initial business networking group, or at very worst, another relationship removed, that kind of friend of a friend type thing. For me, that's been crucial.
Is there any particularly a networking group you would recommend to people out there?
Well, I'm sure they've all got their merits, but I joined a BNI group in Glasgow. I'd say maybe 6 years ago now. But yeah, I got my first business cards from there. Got my first, letterheads and all that kind of stuff. All these things that if you go to the market, you're buying from a kind of faceless website. You don't know if you're getting a good deal. But something like that, whether it's BNI or any other kind of local networking, I would very much recommend it. If you can get up early enough for BNI.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
if you can get up early enough. But then my chapter that I was in initially actually was one of the first kind of lunchtime chapters. And I must say that was really good for me. We had kind of young children at that point, and being up at 7 a.m. to get out the house to a networking event, I would have struggled with that.
Yeah. 7 a.m, that's late.
No, well, he was at well, there you go. I don't even know what time it was. I just knew it was earlier than I wanted to.
Yes.
I had nappies to change and kids to drop off at nurseries and whatnot. So so it wouldn't have happened for me. It'd been some other kind of event. But the kind of time I spent there, even just honing that 30-second or that 15-second elevator pitch that you've got, even to people that are never going to buy from you. That's not the point. The point is you can talk about your business. You can boil it down. You can capture the attention of people. That's the point for me. And if you can't keep that attention in the first 15 seconds, then you've not got it right.
Correct. Yeah. No, is that the BNI or any other networking is they become your sales force, really.
Oh, totally. 100%. 100%. I would absolutely recommend it.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I'm also a member of BNI, so there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So David, what if you started your business again, what would you do differently?
Maybe starting a business the sales cycle isn't so long. I don't know what that business is, but I would very much like to be able to speak to someone and actually close a deal within a couple of months, or even sooner than that. And then start to deliver. What I find is that's one of the most frustrating things for me is the length of time it takes to get what you think is a good idea and what the person you're speaking to might think is a good idea. Getting it through the layers of bureaucracy is difficult, very difficult. But I understand why they're there. It's not bureaucracy, it's governance. I get that. The idea is to make sure that there's nothing underhand happening and everything's as it should be by the book, and that's correct. It is correct. But yeah, if we could just speed that up a wee bit, I'd be happy with that.
That resonates with me. So great. Well, David, is there any news you want to share with the people watching this recording, or any offers that you would like to share with?
There's. I think if you were to ask me next week, I would absolutely have some news from Occutrace. Absolutely. We're going through a process of change at the moment, expanding the business, making it fit for the future. So we're bringing in some new senior hires as well, but I can't tell you right now. This time next week, absolutely. But there's a few internal moves as well happening. So colleagues from the operations area moving into client services to make it more scalable, and also a few, one person in particular taking a step up from their current role. So yeah, it's a good news story, but I can't tell you exactly what it is yet.
We're waiting.
Timing is everything. Timing is everything.
Yes, excellent. Well, David, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you join us today at Business Spotlight, and thank you for sharing your experience and wisdom with us today.
No, thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you.